Climate change is one of the biggest challenges in the field of geosciences. The GENUS Project is investigating the effects of climate change on the Benguela Upwelling System off the coast of Namibia.
Die Folgen des Klimawandels auf der Erde betreffen nicht nur das Abschmelzen.
The effects of climate change on the Earth not only involve ice melting and sea levels rising, but also changing wind systems around the globe. And one of these wind systems is the trade wind. The trade wind is a wind motor for currents around the continents, for example off Southwest Africa, and stimulates the upwelling, as it's known, of cold, nutrient-rich water. In this coastal area off the states of Angola, Namibia and South Africa, the trade wind constantly blows along the coast and drives the surface water towards the ocean. Cold water comes to the surface and brings with it unbelievable amounts of nutrients, which are the basis of an extremely productive ecosystem. The GENUS Project is funded by the German Federal Ministry of Education and Research and combines the expertise of 7 of Germany's marine research institutes, scientists specializing in physics, chemistry and biology. It also involves cooperation with Namibian and South African scientists. At the University of Hamburg, we are investigating the nutrient cycle in this upwelling water, looking at the gas exchange between the ocean and the atmosphere. And one group is dealing with zooplankton, an important link in the nutrient chain in this area. The University of Hamburg is also coordinating the whole project, because we in Hamburg are at the center of this group and are aiming to treat the various aspects of this upwelling ecosystem as a single unit, and as geochemists also to work on it scientifically ourselves.
The coordination of an international research project also includes the planning and execution of marine expeditions. First, a request has to be put in for ship time. The neighboring states must give their permission to enter their territorial waters, and all the equipment has to be packed and shipped in good time. In the process, a research ship is transformed into a floating laboratory, tailored to the needs of the individual projects.
Im Projekt GENUS führen wir mehrere Schiffsexpeditionen vor der Küste Namibiens.
In the GENUS project, we are carrying out several marine expeditions off the coast of Namibia. And of course, we have to plan and organize extensive logistics for this, as we have several sub-projects dealing with physical, oceanographic and biological subjects. This means we will be sending up to 6 containers to Namibia, all completely packed with equipment, i.e. machines, instruments and consumables. A total of several million euros worth of equipment for our expeditions will be sent in the containers to the respective ships. Of course, it's important to remember everything in the planning, as whatever is not on the ship will not be available. And sometimes small things like a cable or a screw could then be crucial to the success or failure of a project. On top of that, there are also numerous hazardous items that are shipped requiring specific logistics, which then all has to be implemented by the GENUS scientists themselves, and then all the threads come together at the coordination facility in Hamburg.
Seen from a global perspective, the Benguela Upwelling System is one of the biggest and most important upwelling systems. A special feature of the Benguela system is the wide continental shelf. The area is bordered by warm water masses to the north and to the south.
You can see on this graph effectively a conceptual model of roughly how this system works, although it is quite rough. Many processes which play a role here are not shown in the model, but the basics are. Here we have the coast of Namibia, and we have a southeasterly trade wind which has a component parallel to the coast. This component drives an Ekman transport, which is represented here by the red arrow. The water that is on the coast here is pushed away from the coast out into the open ocean. This means we get a lowering of the water level here, and this is compensated for by water rising from the depths. And this water has to come from somewhere, and that is the open ocean. This water is very nutrient-rich and effectively pumps nutrients from the open ocean onto the shelf.
Inorganic nutrients like nitrate, phosphate and silicate are thus transported from the depths to the water's surface. The distribution of these nutrients on the Namibian shelf largely forms the basis of where along the coast high levels of algae are produced in the sunlit zones of the water. The inorganic nutrient cycle is one of the key subjects that GENUS Project's biogeochemical study team is focusing on. The oxygen concentration in the water column is also being investigated. Areas where there is little or no oxygen are found in a number of places on the Namibian shelf. The presence of these suboxic and anoxic areas has a considerable influence on the organisms living in the Benguela system. The constant gas exchange which takes place between the atmosphere and the ocean is also of interest. Research is being done into which zones of the shelf of Namibia act as sources and which act as sinks for atmospheric CO2. Biologically high productive zones like the Benguela Upwelling System, which are characterized by enormous growth of phytoplankton, are able to store large volumes of greenhouse gases. This so-called biological pump works against the physical pump. The Benguela Upwelling System is therefore ideally suited to research into the role of upwelling systems in relation to regional and global climate change. The primary production stimulated by inorganic nutrients forms the basis for the nutrient chain in the ocean. The phytoplankton is consumed by zooplankton, by copepods and other small crustaceans like shrimps or krill. This means fish also find enough nutrition. Herring-type fish like sardines and anchovies, large predatory fish, and even marine mammals like dolphins and whales. The plankton is therefore of key importance for the understanding of nutrient networks in the Benguela Upwelling System. Samples are being taken at a large number of sites with various types of net using varying depths and biogeochemical framework parameters. The biologically oriented subprojects investigate the phytoplankton and zooplankton groups in particular, which are especially significant for understanding the Benguela ecosystem. Small crustaceans like the euphausiids, the krill, are an important indicator for the ecosystem of the African coast. The 8 known types of krill in the Benguela system, like many other types of zooplankton, are located in various sections of the project area, depending on the physical and chemical conditions. And even the day-night cycle has an impact on the water depths at which the individual species are caught in the nets. For that reason, it is often necessary to estimate in advance at what depths the nets should be deployed. Only when you have sufficient sample material available can you continue with the experiments on board in the ship's laboratory. Fish larvae and small fish, so-called ichthyoplankton, are also usually found where krill and other types of zooplankton are located. However, a dramatic change has occurred in recent years and decades. Both the size and the composition of the fish population appear to have changed significantly.
Yes, there have been some changes in recent years. Usually, it is the sardines and anchovies which are, let's say, the primary predators in these upwelling systems, which eat all the zooplankton, the small plankton and the phytoplankton, and which can use this basic food source to build up large stocks. The problem these days is that there are no sardines. The current stock is very small, yielding maybe 10,000 tons a year, which is really nothing compared to the 300,000, 400,000, 500,000 tons that there used to be in the good old days. And the question is, why aren't they there?
The changes also have significant socio-economic effects on the whole region in the south of Africa. The whole Namibian fishing industry is feeling the profound change in this highly productive system. Project GENUS is currently investigating the precise causes. Fish stocks have fallen, but the resulting gap in the system could perhaps already be closing. Other organisms appear to benefit from it. They occur in swarms and have only a few natural enemies: jellyfish.
Diese Quallen, das sind auch räuberische Organismen.
These jellyfish are predators which feed on the same organisms as fish. Both prey on zooplankton. And if the fish stocks fall, there is more food available for the jellyfish, and they are able to multiply more. And so yet another impact of climate change comes under discussion. This is not yet completely proven, however, and we hope to get an insight into this with our project.
There are various factors which must be recorded. A change in each individual variable can have an effect on the overall structure. In the GENUS project, the data captured are to be entered into a mathematical model which displays the complex relationships. What happens, for example, if the trade wind, the motor driving the upwelling, gets weaker? Hypotheses like this are to be tested in the model.
We can test this with the model. We can already do this. We've got that far. But of course, we don't yet know whether we have actually adequately represented all the very important processes that play a role in this special marine area in the model. This is something we still have to test carefully. It might well be that there are still a few surprises to come and things to learn, things we may have missed. We still have work to do, and that's why we're taking so many measurements.
A central objective of the GENUS project is to network with international partners and research institutions, in particular involving regional scientists from states bordering the Benguela region.
Dieses ganze Projekt ist nicht isoliert, sondern wird betrieben im Rahmen.
This whole project is not isolated, but is being run first and foremost alongside internationally collaborative projects and internationally coordinated projects. For example, IMBA, Integrated Marine Biochemistry and Ecosystem Research. In this international project network, the question is, just like in the GENUS project, how the changing climatic conditions are affecting material cycles, CO2 cycles between the ocean and the atmosphere, and how this changing circulation pattern will affect the structure and viability of marine ecosystems. At the same time, in the internationally coordinated LOIX project, Land-Ocean Interactions in the Coastal Zone, there are a whole range of interesting projects which focus on shelf seas. Our GENUS project is on the dividing line between these two international projects, IMBA and LOIX, and attempts to answer these interesting questions using the example of the coastal upwelling system of Southwest Africa.